Hello there, friends. Before we jump into it, if you like what we do here on cPDH.guide, the YouTube, and you want to support us in a free way, because, you know, that's what friends do, hit that like, hit that subscribe, even share the damn thing. All right, on to the show. Greetings! I was going to say something, if anybody's ever heard of the Magic Historian, I was going to, odor is a fine, yeah, never mind. That would have been, it's already a strange takeoff. So, here we are. What was this, quarter two? Quarter two? Already? Quarter two? Oh, a quick administrative note. Bodarnn would like to offer his sincere apologies for being a few days late, because technically the end of the quarter was on the 1st, and, yada, yada, yada. He said offer the thing, but, scratch that. I mean, we're going to give everybody a little bit of a pass, because last week was July 4th. I was out of town. I'm sure all of you were doing, barbecues and shit, and you didn't have time for this quarterly, update, now analytical review. You didn't have time for all of that. So don't tell me that, we're not on time, because we're exactly on time. We show up when we show up, right? Now,
yeah.
If you don't know who this gentleman is, apparently he's a ghost, but I have successfully cloned him. I went to the super secret agency, governmental plan, whatever, got the DNA, and I've got the man, Dallas Puzzlebox. What up? How you doing, buddy?
Not too shabby. Been pretty busy. Haven't gotten to do much PDH recently, or any card game for that matter, but we're here now.
Perfectly understandable, because, jobs pay bills. Actually, jobs give money, money pays bills. Yeah, you get it. You get it. So yeah, perfectly understandable. You recently graduated from college, so now it's only the natural trajectory to do that damn thing. Yeah.
Been moving, get new job, all that fun stuff. But starting to get settled in here. Been traveling all over for work, but almost done with that. So hopefully we can get back on the grind soon.
Hopefully. I don't know. Based on this latest report, I think I might actually know what you're going to be playing when you do come. When you do. So, lots of stuff happened this quarter. I think Dallas would agree that this year has been interesting and weird, and it's only halfway through, right? So we've got a lot of things to potentially look forward to in the next coming, the 6 months coming up. If it's anything like it has been. Now, my main concern is the culmination of the last two reports in conjunction with one another might give rise to the more spirited individuals of the community who believe, a specific thing. All of this is going to be contextual as relative to the metas and their thing, in which they happen. Now, we're here to, and thanks to our man Bodarnn, we're here to kind of point out some of those trending items in there. But Dallas knows as well as I do, next quarter, things can change.
Lord knows the meta can shift, and we get new cards, and we might get new players. Who knows? There's too many factors to really just pretend that we can guess, but we're going to do it anyways.
Absolutely. And what that means is you have to pay attention to every second of every minute of, the whole hour that we're going to be talking. So that way you can study up and be prepared for the next event, which actually, Sanctuary 6? Are we that deep now? Sanctuary 6?
Yeah, that's coming up, isn't it?
And then RIW 2, the week thereafter. All right. So I cut you off. You were in the middle of saying some stuff. What were you about to say?
No, I was just saying, we're Sanctuary 6, Common Cause 5, right? Are we on 5 for Common Cause?
Yeah. I don't know if he's announced the date for that yet. I don't know if it'll fall in this quarter. I think it will. I think there was some intentional shifting of the dates to avoid, RIW, and that because Chris One More Game will be there. So will Bobby from Sanctuary PDH. So yeah, I knock on some wood. I hope we'll have another common cause, but yeah, it'll be 5. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
One day we'll be doing analysis on Sanctuary 75, right? And
Hopefully.
how old will I be? Don't answer that. Do not answer that in the comments. so
yeah,
let's do some Band-Aid ripping. A lot of the discourse as of late has been centered around draws, and I have thrown together some stuff. I don't have it all pretty or public or anything like that. I've got everything from archetype related data to event related data to event series related data to player data, which I'm not going to share. I was even hesitant to even mention it, but if you're going to do the dang thing in private, you might as well kind of suss out, all the potential avenues. I don't intend on sharing that stuff because that's not the goal here, is to drive hate towards anybody. But we will talk about archetypes. We will talk about the events and tournament aggregates and all that stuff. So now the downfall, I just realized the downfall of my data is that it is centered around all of the events and not necessarily relative to this quarter specifically. So where the discourse of draws and all of that are concerned, it's kind of a little bit of a mismatch in representation because, we're talking this quarter, potentially even into the last quarter relative to draws, and all of this is going back all the way to Sanctuary 1. So keep that in mind with these numbers. But let's get into it. I'm not going to show it on the screen because I literally finished this like 10 minutes before recording, and I didn't set up my OBS for it. So what I'll do is we'll start with the events. So with RIW, that being the hot topic coming up here in the next little bit, if you participated in RIW with the number of games that happened in that event with 44 players, you had a 16% chance of a draw rate. So you enter into a game, you got 16% of a chance to draw. Seems pretty high, right? Well, they had a lot of draws. They had 8 draws in that event. For the riches to rags. Now, this is where I'm going to start kind of aggregating a little bit. I do have the information for each one of the events individually, but that's just going to take forever. For riches to rags, I didn't do a total draws per event. See a downfall in the data. I didn't do it, but I did do a calculated percentage. So if you participate in a riches to rags event, you have a 6% opportunity to have a draw in your match. For Sanctuary PDH, you have an 11%, and then for Common Cause, you have an 18%. So listed in descending order, Common Cause 18%, RIW 16%, Sanctuary PDH 11%, Riches to Rags 6%. Now, important things to note. Riches to Rags, known for their more freewheeling on commander or command zone opportunity. So that may or may not play a factor. Don't know. Common Cause, historically, between the 4 of them, 2 of them were 90 minutes, 1 of them was 80 minutes, and another one of them was 100 minutes. So whether or not that was a contributing factor, otherwise, and RIW was 85 minutes. So Sanctuary is the only one that has been consistent at 90. Well, Sanctuary and Riches to Rags, I think Riches to Rags has been consistent. Those are the 2 that have been consistent at 90 minutes every event, every time, yada, yada, yada. So with regard to your chance at draw, is Common Cause kind of overinflated because of the mixed round times? who knows? You know, I'd have to, once I've got this aggr thing, I do plan on continuing to drill down on this data. This is just what I had available at the moment. So what's interesting, and I think Dallas will find this interesting as well, is once we start moving from event into archetype, which those are lightly connected because Sanctuary promotes one specific type of meta, and you could say that, well, I think Lobert appropriately indicated that Sanctuary is probably the outlier here, where it's more of a heavy combo meta, and then every other RIW, Riches to Rags, Common Cause, those guys promote a more healthy mid-range showing. So to that degree, Sanctuary is actually the outlier there. But looking at the archetypes associated with draws specifically, out of all archetypes across all events, you have 56 draws total between all events where a mid-range deck was part of the pod. Now that gets kind of complicated because I have yet to do pod breakdown and analysis between, archetypes and all that. That's super heady stuff, and I'm just not there yet. I do data analysis in my day job. You got to give me a little bit of a break. So across the board, mid-range is at 56. The next highest is combo at 33, control at 25, aggro at 15, and Voltron, yes, at 3. So out of all games with draws and what have you, mid-range is likely a player. I could probably calculate a percentage real quick, or Dallas could, based off his photo of, the percentage of mid-range being a part of a draw. 56 divided by, well, I don't know how many. Well, that'd be a total of, draws. Yeah, draws per event, probably total all that up, and then, yeah. So moving 42%. In, what is it? 42%? Is that what it was? Jesus. 42. Okay, so if you are playing mid-range in an event, you are 42% likely to draw.
Assuming there was a draw.
Assuming there was a draw. Yes.
I just did. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, yeah. I said that incorrectly. If there was a draw, there's a 42% that mid-range is a part of that. That's the way. Right. That's the way you're supposed to say it. Okay. So now that we've established that, for Riches to Rags, mid-range was in that same calculus 18 times, with the next closest being aggro at 4. So there's a huge disparity between archetypes there. In Sanctuary, actually, combo holds the title for the most associations with draws at 14, but mid-range is close second at 12. So in Sanctuary, if there is a draw, combo and mid-range likely probably will be there together. There's an increased likelihood. Once we get into Common Cause, no surprise here because it's a higher, there's a higher density of mid-range decks there. Mid-range again is present 15 times, 15 decks there in those draws experienced with the Common Cause. And then at RIW, at the one event that we have a tie between mid-range and combo. So, cursory look, what is your gut reaction hearing this?
Well, I think the obvious initial reaction is mid-range is more likely to draw, but I do think it's notable that the one time where combo is more likely to draw is Sanctuary, which is known to have more combo decks. So part of the issue is also just the fact that, if the archetype shows up more, they're more likely to draw over the other deck archetypes. But I think there is a strong enough discrepancy to point towards something being there for mid-range. So I think there's probably some issue there with
Mm-hmm.
the way mid range is either built or plays out in the pods, or pod composition in mid range heavy metas,
Yeah.
something like that. But
This is, and I'm glad that's exactly, you're reading my mind, man. That's exactly the point that I kind of want to leave this hanging on, because the general consensus after the last Common Cause event was, if you're in a pod and you feel like one player is monopolizing some of the time, call a judge, instigate that judge call. Don't be the one that, I know some people are like, hey, that's slow play. Just, hey, I want to call a judge, call the judge over. Even if the judge does nothing, they'll add a couple of minutes to the clock and they'll resume play, watching for a little bit, making sure everybody's taking their turn in a respectful amount of time and that sort of thing. But yeah, long story longer, it's free to call a judge. Just do the dang thing. I can hear Liam screaming in the background because I just made his life a little bit more difficult. But that's what they're there for. Call the judge, instigate the game, the movement of the game, and that's the thing. People always look at those last couple of minutes of a round and saying, we could have played faster here. But what about the 7-minute turn you took on turn 3? You know what I mean? Time, it's all relative. Doesn't matter where you take it up. So, be cognizant, and don't be a jerk about it. Be like, hey, if you, in fact, I would highly suggest the way to not be a jerk about it is like, hey, could we pick up the pace of play? Something to that effect. And if you're not heated, then call the judge. So looking at these numbers, like Dallas said, there's definitely room for better scrutiny, better interpretation. The devil will be in the details. This bears a lot of issues with overrepresentation. So being able to dig down, I think the most apropos numbers that I read out were the first ones where if you participate in an RIW event, you have a 16% chance of entering into a draw. So with that information, you can keep in mind, okay, what archetype am I playing? You can kind of scaffold from there. Of course, I'm not sharing this information directly as of yet, because there's more work to be done. But yeah, with that, you got anything else on the draw situation?
Not really. Just try to hold people accountable, including yourself. Take your time to think. For sure, you're playing competitive. You don't want to throw the game, but don't take too long.
Yeah.
Find that line.
And you are allowed to think about your turn on other people's turns.
Absolutely. Be time efficient.
Yeah. Because by the time it gets around to you, if you just start thinking then, maybe you're the problem.
Yeah, like passing priority takes twice as long in this format, right? You got twice as many players. And that happens every time a game action is taken. There's a lot of time that has to be spent passing priority.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to find some other way to speed it up.
Sweet. All right, let me click this button. Boom. The viewers can now see it. Yes, this lovely white on black. As per usual, I think it bears, since it's been a minute. Just kind of okay, what is meta? It's on the screen there. Basically, what he's doing is he's looking to find a specific type of representation within the data, and that is outlined there. As per always, the direct link to Bodarnn's report will be in the description of this video. I don't have any way of measuring whether or not you download and look at it, but I would think that you're kind of losing out by not. I think he provides a lot of little insights and relationships that Dallas and I don't necessarily cover on this. And part of that is for time. The other part is to instigate potentially your interest in clicking on that link and downloading the thing. So yeah, don't rob yourself. So performance, he outlines, it used to be, what was it? What was it? What did it used to be called? I can't even remember now.
Winningness.
Winningness, yeah, which was an overcomplicated term. A couple of reports ago, we switched over to performance, so you'll see that and performant used interchangeably, not interchangeably, but in relationship to each other. He explains how he is measuring that within the data as well. What is important to note, and I love the fact that he puts the TLDR in the beginning. This is the first quarter that we will only be focusing on organized data. Now, I know that might come as a rub to some people, but we haven't really been capturing as much user submitted data in the last 4 or 5 months that we used to. And I've beat my head against the rock. Bobby from Sanctuary has beat his head against the rock, because while there's opportunity there, as we've all experienced, if you've been in this meta for more than 5 months, we've all experienced people having an opportunity to intentionally skew the data. By and large, that people were honestly reporting their wins and that sort of thing. There could be also another associated issue of if the system is set up where people report their own wins, they don't always report their losses. So, you could have a skew in that direction as well. We've only seen a little bit of that that really hasn't provide too much of a statistical impact. It's easy to kind of see those in the numbers and take it for as it is. So anyway, that said, myself and other people have tried to figure out ways to stimulate the public for doing those public submissions, those user submissions. We may revisit it in the future. Maybe not. Maybe we'll have 50 tournaments a year and then it won't matter. But at this point, because of the significant drop off, it's just not even worthy of inclusion. So we're just going to stick with organized play, which means, sad to say, if you want your name to show up in the data, if you want your creations to show up in the data, guess what you got to do? You got to get your butt up and pay your $12 to $16 and sign up for a tournament, which is not necessarily a bad thing. So, even when I'm losing, I'm having a great time.
Aren't we all? That's what we're here for, to lose. Just have a good time losing, right?
Well, the good news is part of those events are charity events, so at least my money's going to something, right?
Fair.
Yeah. So, I intentionally paused at this screen to talk about organized play and how we're going to be just reporting that also on this screen as well. You've probably had the opportunity of being able to scroll over meta commanders and popular off meta commanders. I wish I had the opportunity, and I keep saying this every time, I think, to kind of look backwards at the old report to see what the meta commanders were then and do a comparison about what's in and what's out and all that stuff. And I keep forgetting until I get to this exact screen and I'm like, Jesus, man. Okay. That would have been nice to know.
Pretty sure he mentions it in the conclusion.
Oh,
so
that means
I think we're good there.
That means he watches our videos. And he's looking out for us. But there's a reason why his avatar is a dove, right? He's just an angel from heaven, listening to all of our needs and solving those problems for it. So a few things that you'll notice in these meta commanders that are different. Sphinx Summoner, Mystic Enforcer. I think, Wilson showed up last time. Criprets is new, and of course Patchwork Automaton. All of those decks, by and large, are piloted by a singular individual.
They're popping up here because since we're using only organized play, the qualifications to be meta is relatively low because we don't have as many games, which means, especially if a deck performs well in an event, like Patchwork did winning,
Wilson.
um,
Yep.
it'll get enough games just from one event to be considered meta, as long as it played those games and won like 2 games or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of making the meta different than what you would actually see and consider meta per se in an open environment.
Mm-hmm. And we
But
always had, and with the comparison historically between the open and the organized play, we always had this limited meta, analysis in. We just don't have anything really to compare it to outside of that. So I know that B. Schroeder, love that, plays that Wilson Far Traveler deck every chance they get. So, and rightfully so, because it's pretty dang good. So even if we had the open play data and stuff, that would be firmly more represented than it is here. So interesting. Sir Conrad the Grim. I have never heard of that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something you would play, honestly.
But yeah, Vol, Loyal Subordinate, which is nice to see on the list. Teshar, also nice to see. Of course, Abdel Adrian, whoever that is. And then a new upstart, Hollow Marauder, that came out, and I've seen everything from control lists to combo lists. I've actually...
It's just a powerful card.
Yeah, I've actually lost to combo and control. Yeah. So... yeah, the interesting part, let me scroll down a little bit because my screen is a little bit bigger. So the archetypes, which I think is probably a key point. I should probably bold this second line here. Combo is significantly less popular. We have experienced an uptick in mid-range this year. I take partial credit for that because myself and a few others in the community were a little frustrated at the end of last year, and we were like, there's got to be a better way to do mid-range, and we started beating the drums and doing our thing, and the community responded and started bringing more mid-range type decks to events, and combo suffered. So
suffered's a strong word, but it sure didn't show up.
I buried the lead. So combo suffered in popularity. It suffered in representation, because people who normally play combo pivoted over to mid range. Now, point number 2. It was significantly more performant. So if you want to be, not the combo suffers Alice said this earlier, not the combo suffers at all. But if you want to be a combo deck, the best meta to be in is one that's inundated with mid-range and control. So there's the numbers. I don't make them up. I just report them. You heard it here. Just cut the video. And I don't feel any particular way about it. Like I prefaced earlier, certain tryhards, and yes, I'm going to use that word. Certain tryhards will try to utilize these facts, these interpretations, these analyses to their advantage and say XYZ. I mean, they're going to do what they're going to do. But just looking at it from this last quarter compared to the previous quarter, combo less represented, but better performance. Mid-range, more representation. And I love the catastrophically less performant. Thanks, Bodarnn. Control was more popular and more performant. So I think that's the silver lining there. Everybody's going to have that combo mid-range conversation, but control not only better represented, but also better performing. So that's good. And then aggro do what aggro do. So yeah, let's see what we got. Oh. So this is where my heart gets stabbed to death. Other things of note, Patchwork Automaton, as we mentioned, won Riches to Rags. Sir Conrad went 0-13 on the quarter.
Oh, he really called you out too.
And then Mid-Range has a record for the quarter of 0-99. 0 wins, 99 losses. Not a typo.
Yeah, turned it around though, I'm sure.
Yeah, not a typo.
Yeah, no, I appreciated that comment there because I definitely thought it was a typo. Yeah, just an insane number. But
okay, so that'll allow us to dive into the organized play. I'm looking through this, and so 69 games were 69. 69 games. Gotta get it. Nice. Yeah, 69 games were captured for this this quarter. In front of you is the breakdown, Patchwork Automaton. So kind of leaning back on what Puzzle had said with regard to meta decks that perform well, have a better or obviously have a better win representation, but are better represented in the data because of the low numbers. So Patchwork Automaton had a 60% win rate. I think that's one of the best win rates in the format. Everybody go play Patchwork Automaton. Okay.
Yep.
Cut it. Cut it.
That's how it works.
So yeah, when we say stuff like that, please keep all that proceeding in mind. Go ahead.
But yeah, like if you look, you see Obira is on here with 2 wins, which is a 50% record for the deck. And yeah, like we just have so few games that 2 is enough to put you on here.
Mm-hmm.
So personally, I prefer the table 2 for looking at meta, just because I prefer the higher game count. I don't think 2 out of 4 is really enough to say much about a deck. Nor do I really think, 8 out of however many is enough to really start talking about numbers, but it's a better number, realistically speaking.
Yeah, and to that end, so everybody sees table 1 on the screen. If you want to read through it more closely, obviously click the link in the description of the video, or yell at me in Dallas in the comments below. I promise you, I will answer you as quickly as possible. Not really. But yes, as Dallas alluded to, table 2 does have a low sample size adjustment to it. And it does show that Gretchen number sticks out to me, that Breaches, that Wilson Far Traveler, the Sphinx Summoner. These are real meaty, giblets of data values that we can kind of seek to extrapolate meaning from, all of which are obviously over that magic number of 25%, which I don't think we even talk about anymore, rightfully so. So
yeah, I mean, I think all of those decks except Patchwork showed up to at least more than one event or had more than one player at an event. So
100.
I think that makes more sense as a meta.
Yeah. Shout out to my boy Adam, Beachbod God. He is solely responsible for all of that Mystic Enforcer.
Absolutely.
And despite all of the harassment, literal harassment he has received over playing that commander and his choices in the 99, he has persevered through all of that. Yeah, so way to stick it to the man. Good job, buddy. But I mean, the same could be said for Sphinx Summoner. I think that's only Lobert now. Wilson Far Traveler, as we mentioned earlier, B. This Breaches Malcolm. All right, Meeches is the new word. This Breaches Malcolm is, who is it? What's his name? Nolan, from SoCal. He's the one that's played that in at least 2 events, I think. He's pretty good with the deck. Yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about that guy. I'm trying to struggle to, who is the Gretchen player? It's not you. Not
now, there have been a lot of Gretchens.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
A lot of them.
Yeah, didn't we have...
Yeah, 17 games, 47 win rate. So what, 30 plus games on Gretchen?
Yeah.
In this quarter. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, some of that is to be expected. Some of that is surprising. I look forward to see what next quarter shows itself, especially after these next 2 events coming up. On to table 3, popular off-meta commanders. Obviously, Sir Conrad has the most games out of all those guys. Okay, moving on. Oh, that hurts me so bad. Why, Bodarnn, why don't you just highlight it bold next time?
I would have appreciated that personally. I love seeing Teshar on here, even though, obviously it's not going to perform well. The deck's not that amazing, but I love that people are playing it still.
Well, I can personally attest that I have lost probably to most of those Teshars. So I'm the one that's single-handedly, because all they do is get a extort creature out against my Conrad, and then it's just like hard to race. It's so hard.
That's one way to play Teshar.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff on there. A lot of it we've already previously talked about. Loyal Subordinate being one. The Sanctuary is kind of move their time to a later time in the day, so that way they can capture the Australians. And that's one reason why we're seeing Loyal Subordinates show up, because those guys are, well, I say those guys, but Lotad. Yeah, Lotad. My man Lotad. Yeah. So we've got some archetype and popularity stuff. I've kind of already touched on that a little bit with the draws. This will definitely be when I go to do some deeper analysis on representation versus draw, occurrence. In the future, I'll be digging through this to see what their actual popularity was by comparison. Of course, you can see that mid-range was the most popular, because we've been beating the drum. And then there's there's that number.
Yeah.
So what's interesting is the turns, which we haven't talked about a lot. Combo is still, I think they were at turn 9 last time. Mid-range was actually represented around turn 10. It has no wins, so yeah. That's sad. But back onto that control, proving that you can get 13 turns in a 90-minute game, bringing it up. Median game was won on turn 9.5. Now, of course, that data is a little bit skewed, because I think Riches to Rags never records their turn data. So this is the turn information for the tournaments that we have, largely being Common Cause and Sanctuary. So if you're playing in those tournaments and those metas, that's what you should expect, because there's a lot of crossover in players between the two. So as per usual, I'll say, hey, color identity, and then I'll scroll past it. I know.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting, but yeah.
Well, I mean,
Civic's doing good.
Well,
Shocker.
the interesting reason why we continue to include that type of information is because, not to get too meta on you, but here we are. There's been a lot of discussion in the last 6 months regarding archetypes, and at the end of the day, really internally for enfranchised cPDH players, archetypes mean nothing. Largely, it's like, what is your commander? What does your deck do? Those are the two important features. Where archetype really becomes super important is when we start recruiting those CDH guys, those 60 card popper guys, those regular EDH, guys, those folks. When we start to port them in, we have to give them little things of interest to say, okay, what type of player are you? Well, I love to play control. Okay, boom. Here's your list of appropriate control commanders. And that's where that nomenclature comes into play. It does nothing for Puzzle. It does nothing for me. I think most enfranchised cPDH players would somewhat agree that it's not antiquated is the word. It's just unnecessary. But we still include it because we're not thinking of just ourselves. The more closed off the language surrounding something, the less opportunity there is for new people to seek it out and participate in it. So regarding archetype, we're going to still include that. Regarding color, we're going to still include that for the same reasons, because I'm a modern player and I like to play burn. Well, you're probably a red mage and you're going to be interested in red things. So that's why we include this.
Point, if you don't believe us, try picking up a different card game without learning anything about archetypes. Just like look at a deck list of decks. You're like, yeah, that sounds great. Without knowing anything, the archetype labels help so much.
Yeah, and you start to associate certain archetypes with certain commanders or certain strategies. So you're still using that subtext in your brain, even as an enfranchised player. And I'm sitting down in a pod. It's like, okay, I'm playing this archetype and I'm in position 4 and everybody else is playing this archetype. Okay, this directly informs my mulligan decisions, how I'm going to interact with the whole priority as it's swinging around, like all of that stuff. So even though we don't outwardly use it so much anymore as enfranchised folks, it's still in the calculus for how we're approaching our particular games. So just kind of leaving it at that. If you're interested in color things, just download the report. Bodarnn gets his wings every time you. He's already got them, but every time you download, he gets another pair. Eventually, he'll just look like this weird feathered thing. He probably does.
Accurate.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So we captured 13 more games this quarter in our tournaments. Now that's organized play to organized play. So that means we had, surprise, more organized play this quarter if we were able to capture 13 more games. So, and Bodarnn actually specifies what Puzzle said earlier about the cutoffs being greater for meta commanders because of the numbers game. So, saw some of the same meta commanders. Shout out Mystic Enforcer and Malcolm Breaches. I almost called it Meeches again. It's the name. That's the way it is. And then some new, which I'm not exactly sure. I'm resisting the urge to say fluke, but I'm resisting the urge, but I'm not sure if we're going to see a lot of Patchwork Automaton moving forward, especially if you're in colorless or interested in colorless. They just had that Modern Masters 3 colorless one where every time a colorless spell is cast. Am I reading that? Or am I? Yeah, then it pings everybody. So instead of having a Voltron commander, you've got a ping commander. Pingers are super popular right now. So I think most people, given the choice, will gravitate towards the pinger versus the Voltron, especially with all these damn Dedicts, moving about. Crip Rats, that's an interesting one. You kind of see that every 6 months, 8 months.
It comes in, and then people go, hey, I don't like playing this deck. and I don't like playing against it. I'm not going to play it anymore. And then it goes away for
Mm-hmm.
a long time until someone who hasn't experienced it goes,
Now,
hey, that sounds fun.
one thing that I've noticed over the last like 6-8 months or so regarding Abdel Adrian. So, what is it? I mean, we still had some Abdel blue representation in the data, but by and large, people are moving to an Abdel black variant instead. Now, what would be some rationale? Is it a stability thing? Does it give you slightly, because Abdel's archetype forces all of the interaction to come at the time of Abdel. So does black give you some other opportunities that are outside, not so Abdel centric? Like, what is your
well, one thing, if we think about what you had mentioned about combo players transitioning to mid-range decks this quarter, I mean, if you play Abdel Blue, it's pretty easy to switch to Abdel Black and keep the same play style. You're just switching to mid-range instead of combo. Effectively, your game plan's the same. You're just ending the game differently. If we want actual gameplay explanations, I think Abdel Black, in a way, can be even more Abdel-centric, because instead of having 2-mana counter spells that are meant to protect your Abdel but can also deal with other things, you get access to more of the Grave Flicker stuff, which is exclusively, almost exclusively being used to protect Abdel, and things of that nature. But you do also
for
get,
cheaper.
For cheaper. But blue still has like 1-mana hexproof and stuff, different protection.
Mm-hmm.
So there is that. But honestly, I think it's more of a playstyle thing. I think our format in general has a pretty big draw for people who tend to like mid-range. Just the way our card pool looks, I think tends to attract more mid-rangey players.
Well, in fairness to that too, the last year and a half, the card pool overwhelmingly, the new cards being printed overwhelmingly favor mid-range or control plans. Like we've gotten some
pile cards for sure.
Yeah, we've got some new toys for combo, but not directly related to any combo lines. Like when's the last time they printed a new combo piece? Was it Careful Cultivation?
Azir of Tumbling Sands? Odd Tapper for Gretchen?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
Pandora's, we get redundancy, but yeah, like new combo pieces. Scrounger, I guess.
So I mean, it's been a minute.
Yeah,
I mean, what's the Turnbull Peregrine
Strongbow?
Yeah, Strongbow. Yeah. There you go. Too many cards to remember. I mean, that's yeah. So that's the cross section of the pinger strategy, which has only gotten bigger over the last year, and the curiosity control, which actually can be converted into a win con via that build. So that's probably the last one, and I'm stretching it there. So yeah, like by and large, like you said, value pile cards are coming in spades. So naturally lending itself to the adoption of those types of strategies. Now, I'm going to hold out hope that we're going to get balance, as it were, and maybe it turns out that it is player related or deck construction related, and somebody just really hadn't cracked the code. Wouldn't it be crazy if, like you just pointed to, that Abdel Iron Throne turns out to be the mid-range deck, the I'm just playing around with words. People don't at me in the comments. I'll just answer you politely.
Just reply with the. But yeah, like I think it is like a signpost mid-range deck for me. Um, that and like Severus, but
Yeah, we haven't seen much. Now that's the results of the main player of Severus being somewhat unavailable. They happen to work on weekends that tournaments happen because jobs, money,
yeah, real life, all
yeah.
that fun stuff.
So we'll point again to this major shifts in archetypes. Without glossing over that Gretchen Chitchwillow remains the most popular commander. Yeah.
Even without me,
It's a good time. I mean, it does a thing. It has a certain amount of inevitability, and yeah, proven.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because of its popularity, doesn't necessarily mean it's automatically best, though. Haha.
No, but the statistics do support it. So,
that's just obviously he's a Gretchen stan, and I support the Gretchen stans out there. So, looking at those major shifts again: combos popularity, combos performance, mid ranges popularity, mid ranges performance. I know the visual things. I paid money for these. Controls popularity and performance, and then aggro about the same. He did specify in here that this does not support my previous Bodarnn's hypothesis that mid-range performs better in more control-based metas, while combo performs better in more aggro-based metas. Instead, this suggests that mid-range performs worse in mid-range-based metas. Nonetheless, it remains true that combo always outperforms aggro and control. And by always, for as long as we've been studying the data for the last, little bit. Not 2012.
This data is also particularly frustrating to me because if we look at like the performance for each of the archetypes in the previous quarter, they were all very reasonable numbers within 4%, plus or minus 4, which is like a pretty good, healthy place to be in terms of archetype. And now it's not that by any means. So that's kind of frustrating to see in terms of the balanced perspective of the archetypes. But.
And for all you guys and gals and smizmars out there who have made it this far into the video, and you've heard all of the rantings and ramblings of myself and Dallas and all of that stuff, and you think that we have completely missed the mark, by all means, let us know. We'll respond to you. I was going to say in kind, but kindly. I have to protect my my role in the community. I can't get too belligerent unless I see you in person. Nah, I'm just kidding. So, if you out there in cPDH land have some idea of the thing that we're missing, love to hear it. I'm not sure if you monitor the comments in the comment section.
I try to.
Yeah,
I try.
So yeah, we'll definitely be on top of that and answer these things, or hit us up in a Discord somewhere on the planet. I think we're a part of all of them. I mean, there is
we'll definitely see Discord. So
there is
need to contact me. Go there.
Yeah, and there is there is a .god Discord. So hit us up there. I know it's not as active as some of the others, but we do tend to focus more on the data and analytics portion of that and less of the gossipy.
Less of the brewing.
Yeah. So
the general decision.
Yeah. about the format, state of the format, So yeah, flash in the pan. Jesus, you were just stabbing me in the heart, aren't you? So yeah, download Bodarn's. Here, let me switch back over to our two faces. There we go. Download the report from Bodarnn. He's got a lot more little finer details in there, like I said, that we didn't cover. I will kind of finish off by thinking about or stating my thoughts on what Dallas had pointed to with the last report, where the performance between all archetypes was relatively even and nicely balanced. And I will admit that I had my hopes up that we had finally achieved some sort of like Zen state, but then players came along and screwed all of that up. I know it's easy to blame them, right? So you never know.
Do we need to look at that Conrad number again real quick?
Yeah. So I don't know what the answer is. I know that people will not stop playing mid-range. It seems like there's a healthy interest in doing so. Maybe there is some draw-related factors associated with that, because I feel like, and I can't prove it yet, but I feel like we had a higher instance of draws this year compared to other periods. So between these last two quarters, I feel like there was a higher instance of draws. Now I say that I would have to omit the RIW from last year, because that's the singular biggest source of draws for any of the tournaments. But also it was the largest, and I'm hoping.
And completely in person.
Yeah.
Notably, so there's not technically fully optimized decks as much because it's not digital. So some people just didn't have cards.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So they were playing, well, whether it was a choice or a budgetary constraint, there's that. Yeah.
There's potential for not having the cards at bare minimum.
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm holding out hope that we'll have a Q1 repeat performance in this next quarter. If not, if it does indeed skew again, both in results and performance and representation, and also in draws, then I guess we're going to start having to take a real deep dive, a real big look into what the heck is happening, and see if we can issue some strong guidance on how to potentially get out of it. Because, my gut reaction in kind of a meme way would be to suggest everybody just play combo, but we've discovered in combo heavy metas, there's still draw opportunities. So that's not necessarily the go-to solution. So
yeah, I think a funny analysis of this data is you should stop playing mid-range. But as we've seen previously, if you're one of the few players who doesn't stop playing mid-range, it'll probably go well for you. So we've got some chicken games going on here.
Yeah, and
with the mid-range players.
Yeah, the rock paper. Oh, that is very poignant. Maybe the relationship of the mid-range players to one another is drastically affecting the outcome of these mixed. These, I would say mixed pods, but it's like two mid-range decks and other. So yeah, maybe y'all mid-range players need to kind of get together in a meeting ahead of time and kind of work that shit out.
Do not offer each other pricing. It's against the rules.
Yes.
But,
Sweet.
If you have a nice little cult following of your archetype, whatever it be, Who am I to say anything?
Or, hey, a certain percentage of you mid-range players, let's say if there's 30 of you out there, how about 20% of you switch to control? That's not unreasonable. You still get to play your kill spells. You just kind of dial back on some of that value pile stuff and more synergize your win con. Yeah, let's move to control.
We love control here. But yeah, I think that covers pretty much everything I want to say on this one. Some very interesting numbers. Not a great performance trend from last quarter, but hopefully that gets fixed soon.
Mm-hmm.
We'll find out, I guess.
Yep. All right. Play those games, y'all. Sign up for those tournaments. Remember, if I can find the next Common Cause information, I'll put it in the link below. I'll definitely put the Sanctuary link in there. The address to RIW. Show up. If you're within like a couple hours, it's like nothing to show up. It's not like you're going to sleep anyway. You're going to be playing... Yeah, you're going to be playing PDH all night for 3 days straight. Like, come on. Don't worry about travel. Just do it. So, yeah, until the next time, this one's good. We'll see you on the flip.
Peace.